Good morning, students. Happy Independence Day of 78th Indian Independence. And I would like to welcome today for the fourth semester students of Sri Krishna College of Pharmacy and Research Center Parashala. Especially we have taken today this topic of conservation of medicinal plants, in situ, ex situ conservation of medicinal plants. The in situ, ex situ, what is the difference in conservation of medicinal plants, even animals? We should know about that. Specifically, what is the resource in our country? What all the resource we have in plants and animal preservations which we have, especially in this Day of Independence, 78th Day of Independence. I am just remembering I am very glad to say about the resource and as well as what's the difference between in situ and ex situ conservation of medicinal plants. This question have been asked many times, 5-mark question, 10-mark question, and so that the student will be knowing the definition, but examples. We have the resource even in Kerala. We have the resource, more resource about the biodiversity conservation. So, if we know the names and if we know the difference between the in situ and ex situ conservation, then it is possible for the students to write. That's why I took this is as a one class for you, which is a part of Unit 2 in the syllabus according to Kuhas. So 4th sem students, try to listen to this class and make use of it and prepare for your sessional exam and as well as for your final exam, which is going to be held in this recent month. So see here, the two pictures which I have shown, this is one is a animatic picture or a drawing which shows animals which are natural habitats, and here a picture which made by natural habitat and again a word of man-made habitat. So there are two types of forest, which is wild, which is natural habitat, and man-made habitat, man artificially we made also. So from this itself we can make the difference very clearly. Natural habitat is in situ and ex situ means that is man-made habitat. There is two different types. So these two types of conservation of biodiversity which you should know about the difference. So in strategies of biodiversity conservation, mainly two basic strategies have been proposed to ensure the future survival of endangered species. Future survival of endangered species. This is very important point the student should write, because we have botanical gardens, zoos. These all comes in the ex situ. That means we are preserving, we are protecting, we are actually for the survival of the endangered species, we are protecting them. So it is needed for you to respect the nature also, and we have to reduce our innovative things to pork or to damage the natural things which is available. This makes lots of calamity in India. We know about the man-made things which is extremely more than which is damaging the nature, will cause danger to us. This type of things which we can have an idea. I cannot go for a detail, but a simple idea about what is the difference between in situ and ex situ conservation of the natural environment used for plants and animals. The first one is in situ conservation. It means that the conservation of plants and animals in their natural environment. Actually, conservation means, the meaning in English, we can say gathering, we can say about the organization of a meeting, or all these things can be indirectly a synonym can be used, but conservation, protection or growing together in the natural environment of plants and animals, in situ conservation. Ex situ conservation means conservation of animals and plants outside their natural habitat, which can be made by man-made habitat, which can be even protected by us, like zoos, botanical garden, seed bank, gene banks, gene plasm. There are many systems which are there, which can be outside their natural habitat, can be made by man-made habitats for animals and plants. So this is what we have to know very clearly, the student. Now I took very small slide and to explain you in such a way the student should not have any difference of opinion. What is the in situ conservation and ex situ conservation of animals and plants? So this they used to ask in short notes, 2-mark question. They used to ask for 5-mark question. Why not they have asked for 10-mark question also? The student should be able to write, if you know about what all the things comes under and what is the resource for India, if you know about some of them, about what is the impact, what is the handhold of UNESCO in this natural environment protection, these all things will help you to write your exam more feasibly and attractively, which you can be satisfied in writing the final exam. So this is in situ conservation. Otherwise, even you can say outside, on-site, not out, on-site conservation. In situ conservation, on-site conservation. Site of conservation of plants and animals in their natural environment. So it involves the conservation of total ecosystem in protected area. The protected area means national game park, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, Ramsar sites. Ramsar is the name of a city in Iran, but Ramsar is a meeting they made, and on the whole internationally we are using the word Ramsar site, like wetland, lake banks, these river banks, this all comes under the naturally available life sanctuaries. So Ramsar sites are available more in India. World Heritage Center also comes under in this protected area. So there are 37,000 protected areas around the world. In India, we have Ramsar sites 19, World Heritage Center 5, National Game Park 94, Wildlife Sanctuaries 502, and the biosphere reserves 18. So Ramsar, when you want to write about, suppose essay question, you should write about what is Ramsar site. Ramsar site is a wetland site designated to be of international importance under the Ramsar Convention. The convention on wetland known as Ramsar Convention is an intergovernmental environmental treaty established in 1971 by UNESCO, which came in force in 1975. The name I told, the name after the city of Ramsar in Iran, where that is convention, the meeting was signed on that year in 1971 by UNESCO, was in Ramsar, the city in Iran. So they gave the name Ramsar site. So UNESCO means what we should know, at least this is just for an knowledge. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, is a specialized agent of the United Nations aimed to contributing to the building of peace, the eradication of poverty, sustainable development and intercultural dialogue through education, the science, culture, communication and information. So now we are going to, in India, the Ramsar sites in India, we can see in north like Valar Lake, Hokera wetland in near to the Srinagar in Kashmir, and we can see in Delhi also Renuga wetland, Chandartal wetland, and when you see in upper Ganges river also can be seen. When you come to, there are many Bohaj wetlands, even in Calcutta, East Calcutta wetlands. So when you want to see, there are many Ramsar sites in India. And in Kerala, you can see three very important, especially Vembadat coal wetland, Sastangota lake, Astamandi wetland, and in Chennai side near to, we can see there is an Point Kalamer and wildlife and bird sanctuary is also there in this south region. So Kerala we have three Ramsar sites. So when you see Ramsar sites, they are mostly like lagoons, the backwater and wetland of the picture which I shown, naturally available, oldest of the global environmental conventions, the only global convention focusing attention on a wetland. Ramsar, Iran, the city, were 18 countries assigned to the convention in 2nd February 1971. The World Wetland Day, February 2nd. Example, Astamandi Kayal and Webanatu or Webanatu, that is Webanatu, you can say Webanatu Kayal. These all wetlands you can see that is naturally, even they can be very precious natural sources. For Ramsar site includes natural and human made wetlands, island freshwater, marshes, rivers, lakes, reservoirs, etc., coastal marine, lagoons. The backwater makes lagoons which I have shown in the picture, estuaries, mangroves, there is mangroves which are water with deep picture I have shown in the next slide. Coral reef also, and the seagrass beds, etc. This all comes in the Ramsar. So above ground and underground karst and caves, but not deep oceans. You can see these type of mangroves and coral reefs, which we can see in areas like Venad, Idiki, which we have well-resourced places for plants and animals of various species. National parks also comes in the in situ conservation. National parks are protected area where all kinds of organisms are given legal protection. So, they are strictly reserved for the protection, preservation and propagation of wildlife. Human activities such as grazing, cultivation, hunting, harvesting of the forest wealth, etc. are strictly forbidden, prohibited. Private ownership and habitat manipulation are not permitted in national park. 94 national parks in India. Eravikulam National Park in Idiki, Silent Valley National Park in Palakkad. I have taken the example in our place. This is a Silent Valley Palakkad picture. These are all our resources in India and in Kerala. Wildlife sanctuaries which I have taken. There are many wildlife sanctuaries or protected area where legalized protection is offered only for animals. Private ownership is permitted to a limited extent. Currently, we have 502 sanctuaries present in India. Example, Tettikad sanctuaries and Parambikulam sanctuaries. This is a Tettikad Paramikulam sanctuaries picture and Tettikad sanctuaries pictures which I have just taken to show you the sanctuaries. These all comes in situ conservation. Again I am repeating that in situ. Biosphere reserves are protected areas where all biological species given protection and multiple land use is permitted. The protected species include wild population, native tribals, cultivated plants and domesticated animals. The concept of biosphere reserve was launched in 1975 as a part of Man and Biosphere MAB, the program of an UNESCO. Example, Agastya Mala in Kerala, Nilgiris Biosphere Reserves in 23/9/1984 in India first declared. Biosphere reserves has 3 zones of area. This is also you can explain if suppose they are asking for an essay question. This comes in an in situ explanation, that is biosphere reserves have zones of area 3. They are transitional, buffer and core. The transitional area where tourism, human settlement, research, education, monitoring, these all are allowed. Buffer, very little. Core area, only animals and plants, the natural resource So this is biosphere reserve. The core zone, no human activity is permitted, prohibited area. Buffer zone, limited human activity is permitted. Number 3, manipulation zone. Free human activities are permitted. That is why we told that is transitional zone or transition zone in the picture. So World Heritage Site, this also comes in the in situ. These are internationally well-known biodiversity areas identified by the World Heritage Community. They are characterized by certain geologically, biologically, evolutionarily destructive features. Example, Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve in UP. Kaziranga National Park in Assam. I have taken an example. Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserves and Kaziranga National Park in Assam. They are World Heritage Sites, an example which I have taken. There are many. Features of World Heritage Sites. What are the features? You see the pictures, wonderful pictures which I have taken from India only. Wilderness area, large areas protected less stringently. Then biosphere reserves. Natural monuments, small area. We have many natural monuments like rocks and especially beautiful areas which are present in many places which are visitors. We are making it tourism also, selected to protect natural monuments and surrounding areas. Species management areas, specific areas selected for conservation of certain habitats or species which require constant protection. Protected landscapes and seascapes, specific areas of land or sea selected for the protection and interaction of neighboring communities. You see, this rock was present in the southern part of Tanjavur. You can see there when you go far. This is one type of heritage site, World Heritage Sites. There are many in India. I have taken only 1 and 2. And you can see Withernesia. Actually, there are many in the whole world. Many heritage places of naturally which are protected and which are kept comes under the in situ conservation. Now we are coming to ex situ conservation, off-site conservation. So the questions they will ask in class, write about in situ, ex situ conservation. So you should be able to write, even if it is an essay question, the detailed examples if you write, it will be very easy for you. This is our resource and our country which have resource itself we can explain. Our state which we have the details also can be explained. So off-site conservation or ex situ conservation, this is the off-site conservation of animals and plants outside the natural habitats. This is particularly important for some endangered species which are going to destroyed or going to be vanished, which can be protected by us by zoos, botanical gardens, gene bank, pollen banks, seed banks, germplasm banks, tissue culture centers, cryopreservation centers. So these all are very important things which comes under the ex situ conservation. So the students can easily explain for a 10-mark question, very easily. About the in situ itself, we have given lot of examples, lot of things which comes under in India resource, and ex situ also conservation which we have resource in India. So the history of zoos, when you want to zoology zoo, in yesterday the emperor Wenbang constructed a 600 hectares garden of intelligence in 12th century BC before Christ. Alexander the Great kept a tiger and parrot in his court. There's an example which made them to bring a zoo. Roman took many animals over a wild for an amphitheater antics. Amphitheaters antics means they have a show where they brought animals for making them to vision of having an entertainment and sharing of their ability with an animal also. In London, you can see the history of zoos. London Zoo in Regent Park was opened on 27th of April 1828. The aim of a zoo, you have many zoos, in Trivandrum Zoo also, very famous zoo, Mysore Zoo and Assam State Zoo, I have taken simply a picture. The aim of the zoo into household animals for breeding and reintroduction. A second aim is to educate the public. The World Zoo Conservation Strategy estimates that there are 1,100 zoos in the world and they receive over 600 million visitors annually. This is just, I have taken some example of very rare species of animal like Peter, David's deer and Percival's kiss, wild horse. These are rare species which they are protected in zoo. Botanical gardens also tend to look for, in the ex situ, looks after plants in one of the 5 categories below. Rare and endangered species of plant, economically important plants also we are botanical garden and cultivated and protected species that are needed for the restoration of an ecosystem. You know how the plants helps in ecosystem, keystone species, taxonomical isolated species. Seed banks allows the storage of genetic diversity of a whole plant population, preserving their seed for use later in a long process. It involves cleaning, X-ray analysis, drying, packing and storage, germination monitoring. So this is a picture of an seed bank where the numbers have been specified and storing the seeds of particular specialized speed after all the protection process. Gene banks are collection of DNA samples together with the samples of somatic material of organisms. So you know about the basic, you should know about the tissue culture, biotechnology, which we have a big chapter for you. The next 4th chapter is that tissue culture. Gene banking, preservation, the stocks and both seeds and vegetative material. Major gene banking in India, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi, for crop plants, medicinal plants, etc. Tropical Botanical Garden and Research Institute, TBGRI, followed Trivandrum for medicinal plant species. Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plant, CIMAP, Lucknow, for medicinal plants and species. Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow, for experimental animal. I have taken some examples for you. Germplasm banks primarily consider the conservation of genetic material which may be lost through genetic erosion. In practice, germplasm is a plant part from which new plant can be generated. In tissue culture and in biotechnology, it is possible, and it can done now. An application are tissues culture and the cryopreservation technique. Cryopreservation is also an important preservation technique in tissue culture. We will be studying in detail about the procedure. Cryopreservation is a preservation of germplasm at an ultra low temperature of minus 196 degrees centigrade liquid nitrogen. So these all are the examples and difference between the in situ and ex situ conservation of a medicinal plants and animals, how we have had a discussion. Kindly students, listen to this class and make use of it and be prepared for your sessional exam, and as well as it will be more helpful for the final exam. So you just hard copies can be taken and also soft copies also can be used for you in your system, or if it possible you can subscribe my channel and listen to my class, so that listening will be helpful for you to write your exam more comfortably. Thank you for listening this short class.